So the first thing I'm going to do is click on a face here, and then I'm holding control and I'm hitting plus a whole bunch. And that's just selecting connected parts, but it's not selecting everything. That's going to let me grab just the blade. And then I'm going to go mesh, separate, selection. Same thing down here. I'm going to just click on any face, then hold control and hit the plus. It's the plus over on the number pad that does it a bunch of times. And I have that selected, and I'm going to go mesh, separate, selection. Even when you upload this to Roblox, you may actually want to keep the blade separate from the handle, because if you do that and then you make your texture either grayscale or so that it shows the color underneath, then you could change the color of the handle and the blade separately and reuse it by turning it into different weapons, like by, say, making the blade bronze on one and the handle brown, and then in another one the blade could be silver and the handle red, and so on. So you might want to at least make it two objects. Okay, so we've now got just the blade, so I'm going to use the period on my number pad to focus that, and then the forward slash on the number pad to hide everything else in the scene so we can tell what we're doing. I would probably only want one half this geometry to work on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edit mode, select one face and hit control just a single time. So hopefully that will give us just half the blade. Actually, let's do it on the other side, right? I don't know if you can see that easily, but I've just got the back half selected, and I'm just going to hit delete faces so that I have just half the geometry to fix. It looks like this object might not be perfectly sort of centered, so I'm just going to go check. Like if I go into orthographic view, it seems slightly off, like it's not a perfect line up and down. And it would make our life a little easier to work on this if it was. Part of the reason everything is a little bit hard to see right now is that all these blue edges, those are marked as sharp. And we don't really actually want the whole model to be marked as sharp. So I'm just gonna select everything again. And then I'm going to clear sharp so we can see what we're doing. Okay, that's much better. What I want to do next is just get only the edges that are on the outside. So let's go into this view and see if we can do it here. Make sure you're in wireframe if you're using the box select like I am, and then I'm gonna go, let's see what it gives us. Because your thing's not quite straight, I did grab a bunch of the front face, which I don't want. I'm just holding shift and then I'm clicking on vertices to deselect them because I only want the outer edge, if you can see that now. And then I'm gonna go into the side view again, like this, hit the orthographic mode. Then I'm going to go into the scale tool and I'm going to just scale it like this. If you scale like this, holding just one axis in the orthographic view, that'll have the effect of essentially flattening your model a little. I'm also just going to move it over a smidge because when I flattened it, it shifted it in a bit. I mean, obviously you can adjust it to how you actually want your weapon to be. Now I'm going to do the same thing that we just did again, but with the front vertices. I'm just selecting two edges so I can tell what's what when I'm back in wireframe in the side view. So those two lines of edges are what needs to be corrected. So again, I'm going to just draw a box and try to nab them. That looks like it's got them. Don't worry about the crazy shading everywhere. We'll fix that. It looks like I only have the vertices on that front face. That's good. Again, I'm going to grab just the red handle here, just so that I'm only getting those ones. And then I'm going to pull that forward. So now we have something that's flat and straight to work with, and that'll give us much better results. There's multiple ways to do what I'm going to do next in Blender. Let's just go select all so we have all the things. And one way that you can get rid of duplicate geometry, because we have a lot of it, right? Like we have these two little points here and two little points here. Just by panning around here though, I can see you might have some other duplicate geometry in here. Yeah, you do. Okay, we are gonna have to run at least a small cleanup because it looks like there's like multiple extra layers of geometry, and to fix that, like if you have literally overlapping vertices by accident, like you've ended up with here, the best way to fix that is with a small cleanup. So we'll do that first. But we're going to have to go to select all to make sure we grab all that. Go mesh, cleanup, merge by distance. And the distance can be pretty small, but the exact number, like I can't tell you an exact number that will work in every scene, because this number is going to actually depend on the scale of your model. So if your model's huge or your model's tiny, it'll change the value that this needs to be. That got them. Okay, so you should have no more geometry that we just can't see at all. So that's good. We do have some pretty crazy weirdnesses, but one of the first things that I want to just fix, because it makes it too hard to work with, is what's called an Ngon. So in 3D packages, any 3D package, everything is defined by like the points, which might be called vertexes. There's different names for different things, but they're defined by these points, these lines or edges, and these faces or polygons. And a face or a polygon is only actually allowed to have up to 4 sides. If it has more than that, the software is going to arbitrarily divide it into triangles without your say. Like, it's just going to put them wherever. In fact, even if you make your object out of quads, when it's uploaded, like 4-sided shapes, when it's uploaded to Roblox, it's going to turn it into triangles. So in some cases, you want to triangulate parts of your model yourself to control the effect and where those triangles will be. But in the case of Ngons, stuff will act insane if you have them. Shading won't work right. A lot of operations won't work right. So you definitely need to clean this up. And you can do it a couple ways. You can go and select this point and this point, say, and then hit join. And now that'll make an edge, and I can keep going till this is all filled and there's only triangles left. A fast and dirty way to do it that doesn't give you quite as clean topology as doing it yourself, but is much quicker, is just to go face, triangulate faces, and then that'll just throw triangles in there so that you can see what you're doing. If you don't love it and you want to get rid of some of the triangles, you can go tries to quads, and that'll get rid of some of the extra lines. Like it'll get rid of the triangles that seem like they're just breaking up a rough square shape. Okay, so this is something slightly easier to see what we're working with now. I don't know if you actually want this bevel at this tip, but I'll assume that you do. So I'll leave that one there. I don't think these two need to be here. I don't think that's lending a lot to the shape. So let's get rid of that one. We're going to select this one here. Then we're going to click this one here. And we're going to hit M. Oh, I don't know if you know how to multi-select. I assume you do, but hold, like click one vertice, then hold Control and click the next vertice. That's if you're on PC. If you're on your Mac, you're going to have to look up your own shortcuts because I got no idea. So hit M and hit merge at last. So all we're trying to do is merge that over by 1. I'm also going to just put a triangle right here. So I'm going to select those 2 vertices, and then I'm going to hit the join, the J key, and that will draw an edge there. But it just makes it easier for me to see. Then I'm going to go, this area here was what I noticed right away in the screenshot. So we've got, this vertice here is jabbing right through, right? So this is obviously no good. So I'm going to select both of those, and I'm going to hit merge at last. This as another spot that that vertice isn't changing the silhouette at all. It shouldn't be there. So I'm going to hit the one I don't want, then I'm going to click the one I do want, and I'm going to hit M and then go at last. And I'm just going to sort of keep going like that for these problematic vertices. So since we only have a model, you can see what's going on here. You have 2 vertices that sort of plunged past each other. So if you grab both of those and then you hit merge at center, then it'll just sort of average the spot. You could do that same thing here probably. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. Like some of this geometry maybe you wanted and maybe you just want to move it so it's not overlapping, but I'm just gonna assume that you want it to be a fairly efficient model. Like it looks like at some point you ran a bevel, which is what gave you some of these triangles, which is fine, but bevels can result in some geometry you have to clean up. Okay, so here we've got the same kind of things happening again. You can see that these two vertices are sort of plunged past each other. Again, if you want to keep them, you can just correct them and move them so that they're not overlapping in strange ways, right? It actually looks like we have some extra geometry there, like an extra triangle as well. Let's delete that. So you could move these around if you want to keep them as part of the shape, right? And move them till they work where they are. And then just get rid of the ones that created extra faces like this. So I'm just selecting the face and then I'm just hitting the delete key and hitting faces. But you can also just merge the ones that, like I can merge, zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. There's an extra vertex here, this vertex here, and then I'd want it merged here. So I can just hit M and merge at last, and it'll just go through here. So this part's going to be a little tedious. It's going to take you a few minutes because you have to kind of go and look at everything and decide if it was supposed to be here or not. Like again, we have extra faces down here. So if we look at it, you can see I'm just hitting once again period on my number pad to zoom right in. You can, if you do that on the vertex, you can see that we have these extra triangles here that we don't actually want, or maybe this vertex is meant to be here. So we'll just do that. Learning to clean up mesh like this is actually a pretty useful skill because later on you're going to need to probably make LODs, which are sort of low poly versions of your stuff, and to do that you end up having to like remove and change a lot of geometry. So again, I'm gonna just select these two and I'm gonna merge it last for that one. And these ones I'm gonna merge at center. It just depends for the shape you want which thing would be correct to do. Okay, it's probably still got some little weirdnesses here and there, but it's much better. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is make it so the shading doesn't look so insane. Yeah, looks like it has auto smooth normals, which is fine. But when you have auto smooth normals, it'll try to smooth right over the blade, right? So to get auto smooth normals, because I don't know what you've done intentionally and what happened on export, you go shade auto smooth. But then to keep the parts of it sharp that you need sharp, you have to go intentionally do that. So you go into edit mode, select the edge tool, and we can actually do this from the side view now that the model's flat. You can just grab the box in it, make sure you're in edge mode, and then you can draw the box around it, and it's going to grab just that outer edge. Then right click and hit mark sharp. Then we're going to do the same thing. But we're going to grab the front edge, mark sharp. Oops, I don't want these ones. So I'm just holding shift and deselecting the edges that I don't want to be sharp. So I don't want to see all these lines in the final thing. Okay, so hit mark sharp. Now, if we look at it in shaded view, it should look a lot better. We've got some weirdnesses where it goes around corners, right? So those would probably actually be sharp on the blade too. Okay, because I imported this from you. If you go, I always forget this where this is, so I always have to go look for it. But if you click on the little triangle thing where your normal data and stuff is, and then you go down to geometry data, sometimes there could be something in here that says custom split normals. I'm just gonna trash that. That probably happened when you exported it. You probably don't actually have custom normals on yours, but okay. I deleted that and now you can see how sharp and clean the geometry looks. So your geo was like really close, but it's just like knowing how to do things like get rid of extra vertices and how to make edges sharp that is important. While you're still working on it, it's probably best to keep a mirror modifier on it. So I don't know if you've used those. I'm going to select basically this edge that would be on the center of the object. And I'm going to do kind of a complicated thing. So I'm going to hit Shift, then S, and that's going to bring up this snapping menu. And I'm going to go cursor to selected. I think this is one of the most confusing things about how Blender works. And it's going to put this 3D cursor here. Then I'm going to go back to object mode. And I'm going to go object, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. The reason I did that is I want the center point of this object to be right on this inner edge so that we can mirror it perfectly, so that the symmetry tool will know how to work. And in Blender, to do that, you move this 3D cursor where you want it, and then you set the object's pivot to that. You can only change an object's pivot in object mode, but you can move this cursor thing around in edit mode. So I know that's confusing, but if you just copy what I just did, it should work. Now I'm going to go back in here. And if this thing was still work in progress and unfinished, I could just go to the mirror modifier and figure out what axis this needs to be. Oh, that's interesting. It's still not perfectly flat. Oh, there might have been rotation. Just a second. There is. Okay. So a lot of things in Blender won't act quite as you expect them to if there's like rotation and stuff, rotation and scale in particular on this object. So like if this had a scale of 2, 2, 2, that probably wouldn't hurt anything. But if it has a scale of like 2, 1, 7 or something, and some random rotation values, then a lot of things like your bevels and other things will just kind of act crazy. So go into object mode and then select Control A. When it says apply, it's basically going to zero out those transforms. You go down to rotation and scale and zero those out. Okay, so then it should say 0, 0, 0 and 1, 1. It'll still have a position because the object's not, you know, it's not on the center point of the grid, but the position shouldn't really affect anything. Okay, so now let's go back to the modifiers tab, add modifier, mirror. It was the x-axis that I need. I am endlessly confused. Okay, so I am one of those people who can't do north, south, east, west, left, right. So I normally just hit the buttons till it's mirrored the right way. But you can see now that this looks good. And if you worked on it at this point, it would work on both sides. And then when you were finished, you can click this little arrow and hit apply. But you do have to be in object mode to apply modifiers. So just make sure that when you add the modifier and when you actually apply it at the end to just make your object a whole thing like this, that you're in object mode, not edit mode. So yeah, sorry I kind of covered a lot of things really quickly. If any specific ones trip you up or you don't understand how I fix them or how I got to the tool, just ping me and I'll try to help you with that. Hopefully that's helpful, and I'll talk to you later.